The Argument Clinic. Authority. Power comes in many forms.
Oh my.
Teresa?
And it can make things happen and make people do things, sometimes regardless of whether they want to, and sometimes regardless of whether there is any justification. So, who has the right to use power, and how is it justified? Usually power is justified by appealing to authority, backed up by some sense of what makes that authority legitimate. Well then, where does legitimacy come from? There are different sources of legitimacy, and sometimes they're in competition with each other. Think about family structures and the head of the household. This is usually based on cultural claims about tradition. Let's see what our good friends Nigel and Teresa have to say about this.
It's always happened this way, and that's good enough for me.
Really? You're as easily satisfied as that? Or think about religious institutions and the claim that their moral authority is legitimate because it comes from a divine source.
Careful what you say here, Teresa.
Oh, for heaven's sake.
Teresa?
When it comes to political power, democratic states generally claim that their authority is legitimate because it's based on the will of the people, which has been established through periodic elections and referendums. Unfortunately, we have to be very careful with claims about what the will of the people really is, as you may recently have noticed.
Wouldn't catch us talking like that.
Oh no, nada. We also have to be careful not to confuse compliance with legitimacy. Compliance includes, well, not breaking the law of the land, as enacted by the state. People are generally law-abiding, usually even if they don't actually agree with the law in question. Most people don't try to dodge paying tax, for instance. They comply with the requirement to pay it, but do they consent to paying it?
Please pay your £280 tax bill.
Delighted. In fact, why don't I make it a nice round £300 or £450?
Take it easy, Teresa. They'll be wanting us all to pay more.
It's not clear. Oh, yes, it is. Oh, no, it isn't. Compliance indicates that we accept authority rather than that we actively like it. But this also further strengthens the authority.
Well, it's been a really interesting debate.
It makes it seem legitimate. Of course, there are many reasons why we comply with authority. Maybe we have no choice.
Only following orders, mate.
Or maybe we've never thought of doing anything other than what has always been done. Those wheat fields have been there as long as anyone can remember. Perhaps we just can't see how things could ever be any different.
It's just the natural order, isn't it? The cream always comes out on top.
Or perhaps we go along with things because it's to our advantage. Indeed so, Nigel. Unlike me, you should be jolly grateful. But there can be more impressive reasons for complying. We might actually think that it's the right thing to do in the circumstances, and that we genuinely ought to do what authority requires. We might even think that this is the rule or law that we'd have come up with ourselves if we'd been asked to provide one.
Nobody's looking. Let's just take a shortcut through the wheat field.
No, Nigel, you know that's just wrong. The wheat fields need looking after, and we're here to set a good example for others. Anyway, look where it got me the last time. Thinking like this gives more legitimacy to authority than just going along with it because we have to. Even so, given that most of the time this ideal situation doesn't apply, then authority needs to be able to enforce its decisions. So in practice, maybe it just has to rest on compliance, like it or not. Disputes about authority have been going on for centuries and look likely to continue. The English Civil War was basically about whether the king, who claimed his authority had been given to him by God, had the right to overrule Parliament, who claimed that their authority was greater due to being an elected body. we'll leave aside the teensy little problem that the electorate was exclusively made up of male property owners.
Oh no, we won't.
Oh, golly gosh.
Anyway, the resulting long and bitter war saw the king's defeat. At his trial in 1649, on the charge of making war on his own people, Charles offered no defence. He simply insisted that, as king, the court had no authority to try him. Charles maintained this position right up to the point that he was beheaded on the 30th of January 1649. So the moral of the story is, stick to your principles, but don't lose your head. And bang up to date, Brexit. We apologise for mentioning Brexit. A helpline is available. Also poses major questions about authority, with some MPs claiming that Parliament has greater authority upon grounds of being the elected sovereign body with legal standing, whereas Brexit-supporting MPs also claim authority legitimated by the will of the people in the 2016 referendum. So maybe in the end, authority rests with whoever can make the strongest and most convincing claim to have legitimacy. And how does that get settled? History isn't always very encouraging.
I've got a great idea.
Neither have I. Something to think about. Can non-democratic states have legitimate authority? If voting changed anything, they'd abolish it. Does a government elected on a 30% turnout have less authority than if the turnout was 60%?